So my name is Alex Fossel. I flew from Pittsburgh to come and visit FIRA, but I didn't come alone. I come with a number of people who are committed to actually focusing in robotics for agriculture, and not only the problems that we may have in California or in Pennsylvania, but actually globally. Even though this talk talks about expanding PA as a leader in tech for a global agriculture, I believe it's the story that is growing of the folks who love ag, love tech, and are committed to feeding the world. I want to make sure that I recognize the Robotics Factory that is in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a region of people who, many blue-collar, hardworking. Who is from Pittsburgh here? All right, we have a few. Who has been to Pittsburgh? All right. Wow, you all, shocking. So it's a city that is proud that went through a major crisis when the steel mills were not competing anymore, when the contamination, the pollution was actually causing some health problems. So that industry went away. The city struggled, but it came back up. And today we have a number of things such as advanced manufacturing, distribution and logistics. Health is big there. Also space, fintech, but today we're talking about robotics and artificial intelligence. This is a map, and I do not expect that you're going to be able to read the names, but these are more than 140 organizations that belong to the, broadly speaking, Pittsburgh Robotics Network. We have folks that are in space, manufacturing, inspection, in changing the way we work, the way we live, conducting research. We have great universities such as Carnegie Mellon University, such as the University of Pittsburgh, and many others. And we're not that far also from Penn State, in State College in the middle of Pennsylvania, a land-grant university that is committed to not only creating agronomic research, but also disseminating that to farmers. So the question is, okay, there's so much to do in so many industries. How do we somehow focus all of this talent into different specific areas? And for that, we have a Build Back Better regional challenge that is part of the policies of the Biden administration that provided an incentive for the region to catalyze or leverage all of this robotics work. And that led to the creation of the Robotics Factory. That is an organization that is not a factory of robots. It's a factory of robotics companies. It's an accelerator focused on bringing entrepreneurs, ideas, investors together to create more and more robotic companies that are going to be solving some of the key challenges of the world. And to do that, it does that through summits that bring industry leaders with the robotic companies. We had one related to aviation and robotics and just had another one. Right now, there's one going on with defense and robotics, but the one that I care for today is this one, which happened in April. That was the Ag and Robotics Summit. We brought growers. So Walt, one of the partners of organizing GoFIRA, was there, and several others from other places in the country. We also had OEMs, the likes of AGCO, CNH, Mahindra, and others, farmers, supply chains, but also we had many of those companies that relate to robotics in the city. And the idea was to look into what are some key pain points. What are some of the challenges that agriculture is suffering? And for that, we match exactly these two groups. in a structured way to actually learn a little bit from each other. Now, you would say, well, how is Pennsylvania related to agriculture? Well, it has a long history. If I'm not wrong, maybe it was one of the first schools focused on agriculture that was there. Also, we have deep agriculture knowledge, world-class technology, as I mentioned, with this robotic network, and also agriculture matters to the state, so much that it might be one of the few states where the state budget has an innovation fund for ag. Also, this is not just about what happens in the farm, and I think that I'm preaching to the choir here because really it relates across the value chain, all the way from before, with all of the inputs to the farm, what happens in the farm, and also what happens after with all of the food processing, etc. Are you from Penn State? I'm going to get to talk about Penn State in a moment. Great partner. All right, very good. So when we talk about thinking about what are the problems that go beyond Pennsylvania, we thought that we needed to do something slightly different. So with some partners, we went and invited a few companies from Brazil to come and visit Pennsylvania. And we chose perennials because when you talk about robotics, when you talk about AI, it happens that if you have a crop that you plant every year, everything that you do in terms of planning and the history and the health of that plant, all that gets deleted and planted again next year. So the value is there, but it's limited. Whereas when you have a crop that is planted one year, like sugarcane, harvested every year for 5 to 7 years, or when you have an eucalyptus that is planted and it grows the plant for 7 years until it gets harvested, or in the case of citrus, right, you may have even then 20 years. So then the health and the history of that plant, also the way you structure the plantation, the rows, the communications infrastructure, all that pays off over multiple years. So we felt that that was a good group to start with. And we have some of them, and by the way, they're here with us today because we came to FIRA also to look into robotics technology. Suzano is the largest producer of pulp in the world, and they have more than 1 million hectares of cultivated eucalyptus. The reason I mention these numbers is because when one thinks about technology and how you create value with that technology, if you can multiply that by the adoption over a very large area, then that technology is more likely to pay by itself than if you actually sell it to fewer growers with fewer acreage. Also, the cost of sales of actually interacting with the farmers is easier when you have to deal with one organization that covers that amount of land than when, let's say, with 1,000 of those. Citrussuco is the largest producer of citrus. And who drinks Tropicana in this country? No? No one? Tropicana? I don't believe that. Yes. Okay, so Citrussuco's largest customer is Tropicana in the US. So you're drinking this juice from our visitors here. Funda Citrus is an organization that is also represented that actually pulls money from all of the producers in Brazil and looks into newer technologies that can make their industry more competitive. Let's change to one of my preferred crops, sugarcane. So when we aggregate the area of these three companies, Raízen, Terios, and Advos, we have 25% of the sugarcane raised in Brazil, the largest producer in the world of sugarcane. So these numbers matter. And when we look for applications of technology, these are great multipliers that make it very promising to actually run the numbers. And the previous two talks talk about numbers and adoption of technology, etc. That's why we believe that it is worthwhile reaching out to other countries that have a scale and bring them to see what the US, Pennsylvania, and the robotics community in general in the US has to offer. So just an example of what we have done. Not to say that this was a perfect program, but certainly is something that we are planning to improve and practice again. So talk about the ecosystem in Pittsburgh. We talk about, the Pittsburgh Robotics Network. And then we look in the city for 1 or 2 digital ag companies. We have found 4. It's just great. In fact, we had a really good success story because Bloomfield had just been acquired by Kubota. In a year where exits are scarce and far and few in between, that was a really good story to show. So these are companies that are using the AI and the analytics coming out of Carnegie Mellon to actually improve agricultural operations. We had the presence of people from the state, Department of Agriculture, some representatives from the governor, and that almost became a vice president, by the way, Shapiro. We'll leave that topic for later. Then we went to visit some companies like NEIA, Carnegie Robotics, Near Earth Autonomy, all spin-offs of Carnegie Mellon. We went to visit Penn State. My goodness, that was a great day. Worthwhile the drive out to State College and back. There's plenty to see there, and by the way, plenty of new buildings. Of course, we were all wowed by the size of the stadium. Yeah? Then we spent the day with Carnegie Mellon. Of course, we look even for all of the students, Brazilian students there, so we had a really good conversation with them. And when we had a wrap-up, and of course, from Pennsylvania, we went to California. We stepped by UC Davis, and now we're participating here. But not only, and I want to speak of the FIRA USA organization. FIRA USA, Go Far, the company that organizes this, helped us organize the summit in Pittsburgh back in April. So we're very happy to participate and bring our visitors to FIRA, but also we brought some Pittsburgh companies, and I'm thinking of SCA Robotics, here represented by Spencer, Hellbender with Brian, and they are here, and they have their stand in one of the buildings, bringing some of the best prototyping and also serious production capabilities to help other companies get to market faster with good technology, good manufacturing of components that relate to cameras and microcontrollers and things like that. So if you have some time, pay a visit to them. I'm sure that you're going to have a good conversation. So I want to highlight some others also. So we have SCA, Hellbender. And by the way, I got to meet you guys and learned that you were also from Philly. So there was more presence of Philadelphia, of Pennsylvania here than what I thought at the beginning. And of course, Burrow, who you would have seen outside also there from Philadelphia. So just to talk a little bit about partnerships, part of the learning that we have been doing since that summit and putting the effort to actually bring the challenge of agriculture needs to an ecosystem that has so much technology is that it all goes through partnerships. No one can do this alone. So there is universities with different specialties. For example, Penn State with agronomic knowledge, Carnegie Mellon with the robotics, etc. We also bring organizations that are specialized in communication and events like FIRA, the Pittsburgh Robotics Network being the entry point, and someone here keeps saying, I like the analogy, building bridges between different organizations, Alvaro, and the state also has been participating very much so. So what I'm reading here could be applied to possibly other states. It's not just about Pennsylvania, even though today for us is about Pennsylvania. But the important thing is that we need to continue looking for ideas and cultivating them and communicating them. We also have to promote our ecosystems globally. I think that FIRA does a fantastic job here. And of course, I'd love to see FIRA eventually have an East Coast version that would focus on the agriculture in the East Coast, and it could be in Pennsylvania. We need to continue to promote and establish partnerships. I did not expect that the train was going to be celebrating, but it's man, they're happy with this presentation. Okay, so I think that FIRA is doing a fantastic job, and they did it with us in the summit. They're doing it today. Great conversations, great exhibits, and I really love the practicality of the demonstrations. And of course, we need to continue. This doesn't stop. This is not something that you do 1 year. We continue just repeating the importance of agriculture to all those entrepreneurs. So I wanted to recognize that who should be giving the talk today is Kevin Dowling, the director of the Robotics Factory, but he's busy with his Defense and Robotics Summit. So he asked me, since we were coming here to represent them, wanted to also thank you, Ephraim, who has been instrumental to aggregate and invite the Brazilian companies to come to the US. So thank you very much for the partnership. And I want to finish with one thing that has to do with robotics, has to do with agriculture, has to do with partnerships, but it has to do with one of the most important things that we all need to be thinking. And it was mentioned in the earlier presentations. It's about safety. It doesn't really matter whether you're a temporary worker, whether you are an American worker, it doesn't really matter. But if you're a farmer or someone working in a farm, you want to continue producing food, and you want to go home safe. So certainly, robotics is going to bring a lot of help for the producers. We're going to see more food produced. We're going to see more profitability on the operations. But the one thing that we need to worry is about safety. And especially as we have more and more robots interacting with people, that no one hurts each other. So for that, I want to finish this conversation highlighting the partnership not only here with the visit to UC Davis and Penn State, but also a partnership with the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. We have Professor Sala in the back. He's participating in FIRA for a couple times, and we are collaborating, and many other organizations. For this event, is going to have the second edition, Safety for Emerging Robotics and Autonomous Agriculture. We call it Safer Ag Workshop, December 3 to 4 in Urbana, Illinois. So we have a number of organizations, including ourselves with Balanced Engineering, focusing to understand what are the best practices, what are the existing standards, what are the missing standards, and what are the safety case for agriculture in robotics, for robotics in agriculture, so that we have machines that can interact very safely, as we have seen, for example, Burro do. We had a demonstration today, so that machines and humans can work together, and no one gets hurt, and everyone goes back home. So with that, I invite you to participate if you are interested in the topic. And there are some flyers in the back that you can take with you as well. And I would like to see if there are any questions. And I'm not going to make this any longer, because we all want to go for a beer or a glass of wine after a long day. Thank you.
Not to keep you if it's beer 30, but if there's questions, we have 15 minutes.
Yeah. Come on, one question.
Yes.
Mel.
Oh, hang on.
What do you see as the biggest challenge on the safety side across the line? Is it the existence of the standards, the understanding of the standards by the developers, the farmers, and the agreement to the portion of the responsibility? What do you see as the roadblock, the most significant roadblock to fielding and scale?
Can you respond with the mic so we can keep it on video? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I think that some of the challenges, there's not a single one, but one is that especially those companies that are starting, with a lot of excitement in creating prototypes of robots and things like that, think of safety from the first moment that you're designing something. Build safety from the beginning. And by saying that, you don't need to bring the rigor of a lot of standards and systems engineering and requirements and quality, because you're going to kill your project. It's going to be too expensive before you have proven actually your business case. But start, do a risk assessment. Just start understanding what are the key things that could happen, that could go wrong. Because as you mature your technology, you're going to continue to be building that safety in the system so that when you're done and you get your second or third round, for example, of funding, then you're going to have a system that is going to most likely meet the standards. And when lawyers are brought in, they're going to be much more pleased than if you didn't. So that is one. It's just having this sense that safety is important from the beginning. The other piece is having a very good conversation with product liability attorneys. Trying to understand, if you have a system that is going to be deployed, let's say, in low numbers, what is the level of risk that you can tolerate, and what's going to be your argumentation if you ever had a problem and you brought a lawsuit against you? If nothing else, you need to understand what you would get into, and that is going to motivate you to be thinking more about safety, and also of being very careful with your deployments. Maybe you're going to make sure that not many people are there. Maybe you're going to make sure that children are not present. Things like that are common sense, but sometimes in the eagerness to actually develop, we may forget. And the last one at scale, Mel, is really making progress in this conversation that Sala is leading from within the University of Illinois, is the dialogue that needs to happen between regulators, technology companies, OEMs, and when I say regulators, I'm thinking of OSHA and others, and also the standards that are emerging to make sure that we all agree that we're doing the best we can with the existing technology to bring safe machines to the market.
Great, thanks.
We had one more question over here. Yeah, here you go.
Hi. Thank you very much for your presentation. And
that is a very good question. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, I really love that you mentioned, and you are mentioning for the whole presentation, the possibilities of making innovative business in the United States, and especially in Pennsylvania state. By our example, I understood that it's really nice place to make business. This is really nice place to grow technologies. This is really nice place to make investments. And I started our business 1.5 years ago in the state of Pennsylvania, and we are just one of example that we are following recommendations of our partners. For example, here is the founder of Orange Pavers, the company which made tens of millions of investments in American economy, being in Pennsylvania state, and this is just a wonderful state to make a business. So by our example, I can share that you're absolutely right.
Okay.
The second question relates on the possibilities of agricultural robotics that we are discussing today here in FIRA, in the West Coast. However, I really love the idea to bring FIRA to East. And I'd love to understand, where do you expect we have to do the FIRA in Pennsylvania state? Which part of the state is crucial? So just give an advice for organizers, and we will definitely follow up to organizers because we need FIRA in PA state Definitely, and this is just a nice idea. Thank you.
Very good. So you're going to come with me later to talk to Gwendolyn and Mayalen and Alex, right? And look how we can promote the idea. There's a question over there.
Yes.
So I'm a farmer and former technologist, and so this is my first time here, so it's great to hear about the Robotics Factory in PA, this event here, you know, organizations with the University of Illinois. And I guess being a former technologist and now a farmer, the difference between like the products that we really see on the ground and the ones that are sold and the prices that are available versus the R&D stuff that happens at the university, and especially in California, your comments about regulators, products, OEMs, that discussion about safety is very near and dear to my heart in California. How does the industry help that? Because it feels, you know, I mean, looking at all the vendors here, thinking about the industry in general, there's everything from, you know, Tesla with international automation down to little companies that started out of a UC Davis lab or any other, you know, somebody's garage. How do we help the industry, you know, I don't know, find its way and really get some of this stuff to places where it helps growers with, you know, putting boots on the ground or robots on the ground and helping workers as well?
Yep. So what do you grow? What do you produce?
Almost everything that we do in the North State, so almonds, walnuts, pecans, rice,
Okay.
processing tomatoes, vine seed.
Okay, so many of those are really labor-intensive operations. Yep. Okay, thank you. So there are things happening. So for example, when you look at the OEMs, they are investing their money in engineers, representatives, etc., that are working, and they get together to create the standards that will eventually guide how you build a complex machine, a robot, or even before a robot, but then let's say an autonomous tractor or something like that. Any one of the machines that we have seen here, so that the architecture and the code and everything is done with a level of quality to answer towards those risks. So people are investing. The part that is not necessarily resolved to the satisfaction of everyone is, well, do those standards represent the best we have as it relates to being able to argue, right, that yes, you built a machine again according to those standards, and can that be a good argument in court? And that piece is a conversation that is going, because on one hand, the regulators may not agree with the standards, and they have their own, like in California, this prevention of tractors running without an operator, right? But also, I don't think that right now, I don't think that everyone in the industry, and I'm thinking of OEMs, are completely comfortable with the existing regulatory and standards collection to say, yes, this covers everyone's or limits the risk of a major lawsuit. But I would say what do we need to do is to participate in events like what Sala is leading, and maybe we have been talking that maybe right now is the second edition in Illinois, but it has to come maybe to California. So it's focused on the challenges of California, and you bring regulators, and that conversation is a very well-structured conversation that brings factual, statistical understanding of accidents, of risks. OEMs are in, farmers are in, etc. So what I would say is just join one of these conversations, and so that we can, as an industry, continue making progress. There's one more thing, I want to take advantage of your question, and I promise that I'm not going to use the next 3 minutes. So we can make the machines safe, but there's one thing, one aspect is perhaps one of the most critical factors in how we humans collaborate with machines in a safe way, and that is communication. So if I'm working in a field, let's say I'm doing any task with a tractor, and I'm running out of fuel, and I radio my tender truck or fuel truck to come in and meet me, or if I'm seeding and the seed truck is coming, whatever, right? So I look at the guy, he's coming, and I may wave and just say that I'm going to finish this row and come back and we're going to meet over there. And there's both language and what is the word I'm looking for? Verbal, thank you. Verbal and non-verbal communication. And we know each other, so he understands what I'm trying to do, and I don't need to explain a lot. Well, between people and robots, I think that the establishing an intuitive language, especially for the non-verbal cues, is going to be critical. And it's one that doesn't require reading, hundreds of pages in how you operate the robot. It's more like reusing what we humans do very well among ourselves. I can't characterize that very well, but it's this idea of automation, state and intention communication. If you and I are talking, what you want to know from me is that, what is my state? Am I okay? Am I moving? And also, what is my intention? What I'm going to do next, right? And also, I want to know that from whoever is collaborating with me. How are you, and what are you going to do? That way, we can collaborate. So this automation state and intention communication is one that is begging for a standard. So all farmers globally can talk to the farming robots the same way. That's my 2 cents to this conversation. More questions?
Maybe time for one more, or?
Well, I wanted to thank you. I mean, my goodness, this is the last talk. So thank you for putting up with this, for coming and being interested, for some of the questions. And today, let's go get some rest and drink some beers and just laugh. And tomorrow, let's continue building great robots to help the producers feed the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much.